Welcome to the course Wireless Cellular and LTE 4G Broadband, Lecture 1 of Module 5. In this Module 5, we discuss about radio resource management as well as mobility management. In particular, in this session, we will discuss about the concept of barrier service and overview of PDCP. So, let's start our discussion with respect to the concepts what deals with this radio resource management. So LTE is a packet switch network, as we know already, from end to end, which is designed for the high speed services. So to support all these quality of service requirements, LTE use the concept of barrier service. So this barrier acts like a central element, a core part of your quality of service control. So every evolved packet system barrier is defined between PDN gateway and user entity, nothing but your mobile, and maps to the specific parameters of your quality of service, such as data rate, latency, as well as packet error rate. So we need to have a better barrier services to be provided. So in enhancement of these applications, the end-to-end connectivity through the network is made via barrier service, and the barrier service architecture is shown where it has several layers, several end-to-end services. Each end-to-end services has a specific barrier service provided. An EPS barrier, as you see in the figure, has a multiple interfaces. Across each interface, it is mapped to transport layer. An S5 or S8 barrier service transports the packets of EPS barrier between serving gateway and PDN gateway, while the S1 barrier, as you can see in the figure, it transports the packets from EPS barrier between E node B and service gateway. So when we talk about the signaling aspects, signaling barriers, SRBs, carry the radio resource control. Whatever the signaling messages related to date has been conveyed to, has been driven through SRB. That's what signaling radio barriers. While data radio barriers carry all the user plane data. We say DRBs, data radio barriers. So the radio barriers are mapped to the logical channels through appropriate layer 2 protocols. So when we talk about the barriers, so these barrier services, as you see, are broadly classified into two categories. There are GBR services, guaranteed bitrate services, as well as non-GBR services, non-guaranteed bitrate barriers. What are these? These barrier services, when I say guaranteed bitrates, GBR bitrates, which are defined so that the minimum bitrate will be available to the user entity. So especially all applications such as voice and video streaming, as well as the real-time gaming can take GBR services with respect to GBR barrier services. When it comes to the other classification of barriers such as non-GBR, these barriers do not define or guarantee a minimum bit rate. So especially with respect to web browsing or emailing aspects, or from point-to-point file sharing, all applications have been classified with respect to non-GBR services. So each barrier is associated with a particular quality class identifier. When I say which indicates the priority, how much the budget is been driven, what is the amount of packet acceptable packet error can be obtained. So this particular structure, what you're seeing, it shows the quality of class identifier. So based upon the LTE aspects, so each barriers established having a proper connectivity from end to end. So we can, based upon these barrier services, we can have an architecture that has been analyzed with respect to LTE protocol architecture. The protocol architecture between LTE and the core network is actually divided into two planes. One is user plane as well as the control plane. So when I say the user plane and the control plane perspective of the packets to be driven from one point to the other point with a specific data transmission, the user plane is responsible for transporting IP packets carrying application specific data from PDN gateway to UE. So all this happens because of a number of protocols such as GPRS tunneling protocol can also be used in case of your user plane. So when I say user plane stack, all these things may come into picture. With respect to control plane, the transporting of the control plane is nothing but the signaling activity, mobility management entity, as well as user entity. So whatever the type of signaling we handle with respect to your control plane related to barrier services such as quality of service management, barrier management, and mobility management, which includes all the functions. If I check with respect to change of handover or the paging information can also be considered as one of the important aspects of your control plane. So when I take about the layer protocol layer architecture stack, user plane stack, as well as with respect to control plane stack. So in LTE layer 2 of protocol stack is split into three things. In LTE layer 2 stack of protocol can be split into three aspects. One is MAC, RLC, and PDCP. So here what happens, all the radio barriers are mapped to logical channels through PDCP and RLC sublayers. So when I say accessing points, accessing points between your physical layers, SAP, between the physical layer and the MAC sublayer provides all the transporting channels. So SAPs between the MAC sublayer and RLC sublayer provides the logical channels. So what happens in LTE? There is one RLC. In LTE, there is one RLC and PDCP entity per radio barrier service. And in UE, with respect to every particular base station. So what happens in one LTE system? There is if I want to define LTE system with respect to the means of application, there is one RLC and PDCP entity per radio barrier in UE and E node B. Nothing but based upon your base station as well as the mobile station. But only one MAC entity exists in your UE, nothing but with respect to user entity and E node B for all the barriers. So this happens with respect to the means of execution, what we discuss in case of your user plane as well as the control plane stack. The user plane as well as control plane stack, whatever we're discussing, you can see that the different layers have been represented for the user plane stack as well as the control plane stack. And the layer 2, what I told you, the layer 2 implementation, how it takes place, the three parts with respect to how it is split with respect to protocol stack, MAC, RLC, and PDCP, how your security aspects have been actually considered, you can understand the picture here. So this discussion of your barrier service are much more important for us to have a better understanding of all the higher layer protocols, whatever we discuss in the subsequent slides. In particular to this module of managing of all the resources as well as having mobility management aspects, we'll be discussing in detail about higher layer protocols such as PDCP, MAC, RLC protocols, as well as mobility management aspects, and also mitigating your inter-cell interference coordination. So let us start our discussion with respect to PDCP overview. So what is this PDCP? It is an entity that is associated with either with control plane or user plane, depending on which the barrier, what kind of radio barrier it is carrying with respect to data aspects. So each radio barrier is associated with one PDCP entity. So and each PDCP entity is associated with one or two RLCs, depending upon the architecture, depending upon the radio barrier characteristic and RLC mode, what kind of mode of applications have been deduced. PDCP is used only for radio barriers mapping on a DCCH, dedicated control channel, as well as dedicated traffic channels. So when I see the functionality of representation with respect to user plane and the control plane, with respect to service and functions, we can see PDCP functions for user plane and control plane. So for user plane, we have services such as header compression. When I say header compression and decompression of IP packet, IP data flow with respect to ROHAC protocol, where we are going to have an compression means of execution, and ciphering as well as deciphering of user plane data, in sequence delivery and reordering of all the upper layer PDUs are handed over with respect to whenever there is handover procedure. So all the delivery of execution with respect to reordering of all upper layer PDUs takes place with respect to user plane, and even the buffering and forwarding of upper layer PDUs from serving node from each base station to the target. I mean to say, when I say base station, whenever there is a change of change of handover takes place with respect to handover operation. We have source E node B as well as target E node B. So this buffering as well as forwarding of all these PDUs takes place in case of your user plane. So this is about PDCP with respect to user plane aspects. When I say about control plane, so control plane also we have functions such as ciphering as well as deciphering of control plane data, especially integrity of data production. There is a security as well as a verification of the all the verification aspects of control plane data is also enabled in case of the control plane of your PDCP protocol. That's what packet data convergence protocol. So transfer of all the control plane data can also be labeled with respect to the PDCP overview. So when I say PDCP PDUs, it is broadly divided into two aspects of PDCP data PDU as well as control PDU. So for what we discussed is the plane of execution, whether it is user plane as well as the control plane. What happens with respect to the functionality of PDCP when it comes to user plane as well as the control plane perspective, and what is with respect to data. When I say with respect to PDCP, how it is broadly classified with respect to data PDU as well as the control PDU. So when I say data PDU, it is used in both control as well as the user plane to transport higher layer protocols with respect to higher layer packets of information. So PDCP data PDU is used to convey either user plane data which contains the compressed as well as uncompressed packets, IP packets, or with respect to managing of your RRC message. When I say RRC, radio resource controlling messages, with where we get authentication of the usage of the message, is also been reduced by PDCP data PDU. When it comes to PDCP control PDU, it is used only within the user plane to convey PDCP status, what the status of reporting based upon the handover, whether the signal strength is enhanced, whether the signal strength is sufficient with respect to available protocol or available radio link establishment has been done using your appropriate means of appropriate algorithms that are executed in the change of in the handover procedures, whether the feedback from one particular source entity to destination entity information is conveyed with respect to appropriate compression means, header compression means, all these things comes with respect to PDCP control PDU. So it doesn't carry any higher layer SDUs with respect to, but it is used for peer-to-peer signaling between PDCP entities at two ends. So what happens with respect to PDCP control PDU and the data PDU, we can see in the with respect to data and control PDU, there are three types of PDCP data PDUs which have been classified, you can say, by the length of the sequence number, how you are going to have a sequence number SN number. So PDCP SN is used to provide the robustness against the packet loss with respect to amount of sequentially generated guaranteed bits of services with respect to appropriate receivers. So PDCP with long sequence number is employed for different mode of usage, that is AM and UM. We'll discuss in detail about what is AM and modem based upon mode of execution. And PDCP with the short sequence number is used for that TM mode. So this means of execution, whatever we discussed, are also labeled as to understand, or also gives much more information in understanding about your different aspects of how compression takes place with respect to PDCP. So when it comes to header compression, this protocol is based on with respect to header compression is based on your ROHAC, robust header compression, which is defined by IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force. So the compression is performed only on user plane data. Whatever we are going to perform, it is only on the user plane data, whatever the compression means of execution. And the services in the LTE are IP based. When I say IP based, which are going to have a frame format of work, frame either which are deployed by using your IETF protocols. So whatever the services and IP based aspects are all followed by your IETF protocols. So these protocols are have a significant amount of overhead related to network layer, IP, transport layer, I mean to say TCP as well as UDP, and application layer with respect to RTP. So which contains a repetitive means of execution where we have much more redundancy in managing the things. So this purpose of execution of this particular execution, efficient header compression schemes are required for your VoIP services. So this whenever these header compression schemes are required, we're going to have an appropriate header compression, especially ProHawk is been employed. So there are multiple header compression algorithms called profiles, which are defined with respect to ROC frame format. So when I say header compression profiles and protocols, you can see in the slide there are based upon the profile ID and the usage, how many header compression means of execution are supported in LTE. So each profile is specific to network layer, transport layer, and these header compression are also means of execution with respect to appropriate framework. So this is one of the things we should understand about PDCP. The other one is integrating as well as the ciphering. Whenever I say integrity and ciphering of information, so security related functions in PDCP are all related to integrity protection and ciphering. So PDCP data with respect to PDU, which is denoted by parameter count, how we are going to have an hyperframe number as well as sequence number in maintaining and getting the IP with respect to secured algorithm execution. So the count, whatever we are seeing, has a secured length of 32 bits and consists of two parts, HFN as well as PDCP SN. That's what your hyperframe number as well as the sequence number. So SN is used for, when I say SN sequence number, this is used for re-recording or duplication and detection of RLC packets, radio link control packets at the receiving end. So this happens with respect to SN. The integrity protection function, which includes both integrity protection as well as the verification, which is only employed for the control plane aspects. The data unit, that is integrity protocol with respect to PDU header, and the data part of PDU before ciphering and after ciphering with respect to the means of execution with respect to verification is being provided by MAC1. So that's what you can see in the structure with respect to control plane, where we have MAC-I, integrity protection with respect to MAC-I is being provided by integrity protection of 32-bit length. So when I say about MAC-I field, it is calculated based upon the keys provided by radio resource controller with respect to radio barrier services, whatever the identifiers we are going to deploy, and the count value. The ciphering functions, which includes ciphering as well as deciphering. So it is performed on both control plane as well as the user plane data. For control plane, the data unit that is ciphered is the date, nothing but when I take about the control plane, if the data unit that is ciphered is the data part of PDU, and the user plane, the data unit that is ciphered is the data part of PDCP PDU. So based upon PDCP PDU and MAC PDU, we are going to have a control plane as well as a user plane perspective. So when I talk about the PD with respect to PDCP ciphering function, which is usually activated for the usage of upper layers, higher layers, so which is done with respect to basic XOR operation, where we are getting the stream of data and the data is XORed or operation with respect to data unit, and the ciphering stream is been obtained. The ciphering stream is generated by ciphering algorithm based upon the keys that have been employed and the radio barrier identity and the value of the count sequence based upon the hyperframe number as well as sequence number. All these things play important role, as well as the length of the key stream. So these parameters provide us in detail analysis or in detail understanding of what actually happens with respect to PDCP overview. So that's about the end of the session. Thank you.